Welcome back to my channel. My name is Olive, and today on my podcast I have my friend Stevie with me, so welcome. We're calling this Sunday with Stevie because we're recording on a Sunday, so welcome.
Hi,
Thanks for joining me on the podcast. How you doing?
I am great. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, for a little bit of context, Stevie and I met at a gym in Brooklyn a couple months ago. Stevie also does Olympic lifting. That's kind of how we started talking to one another at the gym, which was Squats and Science. Big up. And he's visiting from New York, now in Brighton. So, we're here. How are you enjoying Brighton so far?
It's amazing. It's very smooth pace, very chill.
Yeah.
Definitely will be back.
I can imagine it's pretty slow pace compared to the chaos of Manhattan.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your backstory and how you kind of got to where you are today?
It's a very broad question.
Very broad.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in New York for about, I would say, I've lived in New York for about 18 years. And I had moved to Colorado for a little bit, and that's when I got into sports. That was in my teenage years, so around 13 to 19-ish.
Okay.
Yeah, so I played sports there and found that I was really good at many sports. I decided to play basketball, stuck with that. Then came back to New York because family obligations. So
Okay.
went to university here, ended up playing basketball. And for work, because I needed money, I became a coach at Equinox. That was my first ever job. And it just took off from there, and I've been a coach ever since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice little overview. I obviously know more about you, so we'll delve into it.
100%.
But I guess one of the main questions I'm always intrigued asking other movement coaches is, when you were younger, did you ever envision yourself doing this?
Absolutely not.
No?
I thought I was gonna be a FBI agent, fighting crime around the world. And then career day happened, and an actual FBI agent came to the school, and he was like, "It's the most miserable thing ever. If you want a family, it sucks." And I was like, I was 10. My dreams were crushed. I was like, I don't want to do this now.
So to every FBI agent watching this right now,
You guys know where I live. Don't knock on my door.
no, that's so fair enough. So let's digress a little bit and go more towards when you started playing basketball, because I want you to talk a little bit more about that.
Okay. I started playing basketball when I was 13, so I was a late starter for most people, which is typically normal for the average person. Um, but because I had such a broad sports background, because I was also playing football, baseball, track, and I was very, I guess, ahead of the curve for most things. And over time, when I started playing, I got really good. But I would watch a lot of highlights of my favorite basketball players and see their work ethic. They would be in the gym at like 3 in the morning. So I was in the gym at 3 in the morning.
Oh my God.
And then I would go to school, and then after school, I would have our standard team practice. And then after that, I would go home, do like a home workout, watch some basketball, go to sleep. So like that was my routine over time. And when I moved back to New York, that's when everything just clicked. And, I ended up getting paid a lot of money for playing. So,
Oh yeah, because you played professionally for how many years?
2 years. And it was very fun. I got to travel to a lot of different places. Um, Miami in particular, which is very nice. I'm there pretty frequently because of it. Um, and I'm grateful for it. I mean, I got to meet a lot of interesting people. I got to see a lot of cool things. And then I got bored.
And why did you get bored? Was it the like regiment and the structure of it?
It wasn't so much the regiment or structure. It's just like, and it just felt like work, and
Okay.
I'm like anti-work when it comes to the things I like doing.
Yeah, particularly if it's like a movement practice.
Yeah.
When the joy is kind of taken out of it, I can imagine that's like maybe soul crushing is an extreme word, but perhaps it felt like that.
I guess for me, it felt more so like it didn't feel competitive anymore. I felt
Okay.
like I was just punching in a clock. And
Okay.
then, which is cool because like some people can tell you like, hey, you made it. Like you did what most people couldn't do on your own or with like very select people helping you. And that was the cool thing. But for the most part, just going in and like you have morning practice, then afternoon shoot around, then the game, then you have the breakdowns the next day, and you know everyone's agenda is different. Like I'm there to have fun. Some people are there to actually pay their bills,
Okay.
and they have kids to feed and stuff. And no, not me. I don't have kids. Hence why I'm in Brighton, being a menace. But it's a very, I would say if you're an athlete and you're trying to pursue, I guess the highest, still chase after it. But the one thing I will say is give yourself a break from time to time, because that's something I didn't do. I was just like relentless, and it led to a string of injuries, but at the same time, it led to burnout.
Right.
And I think that probably contributed to me leaving the sport altogether. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting. And then, like now, your relationship with basketball, where do you kind of feel yourself?
I don't even touch a basketball. I mean, if
Right.
my friends ask me to play, like, we'll play, and then, like, I'll still beat them because, like, you
Yeah.
know, yeah. But I'm just busy doing other things. Like, I'm really hooked on lifting and, like, the holistic approach to training, which is something I've managed to translate well into my personal business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you do you miss basketball at all, or do you miss that lifestyle that you used to have?
Um, no, I don't miss. I guess I miss like the ease of communication.
Okay.
So in New York, people are a lot more closed off and guarded, and most of the connections I've made in New York are through sports. So playing basketball was a way for me to like connect with people. It gave me access to things that like I would have never thought I had in life. And that was a way for me to like learn how to be social.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So it's giving you tools that you can now use in later life.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, interesting. So let's go and touch on lifting. Why is it something you're now like hooked on?
Uh, it's fun. It's very fun. I feel like I always have like unlimited energy and I do nothing with it. So understanding that like I've always been like naturally strong. So understanding that like I can do this and at the same time work on being a more efficient human being in the sense that like I can move better, I can like reach down, touch my toes, which was a thing I wasn't able to do until like I was 20.
Okay.
Um,
As a yoga teacher, that deeply upsets me. I'm joking, it doesn't.
I apologize for the inconvenience.
I'm joking.
Yeah, so yeah, that's it's very holistic and it's something I guess like from a more masculine sense, you know, since we don't go to war or anything, at least I hope we don't. Please stop fighting. Um, it's more of a way to connect with like your inner, I guess like your inner warrior or your
Yeah.
inner like inner individual. And you get to express like forms of aggression. And since I do Olympic lifting, you have to be graceful with that. So it's
Yes.
kind of like being a samurai in the garden kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I think a lot of people have the misconception that, at least with like modalities of lifting like powerlifting, bodybuilding, or even Olympic weightlifting, that there's so much aggression that comes into it because you are pulling a heavy weight, and a lot of people tend to like yell when they're towards their max. But
Ah.
but I think a lot of people misinterpret how much sort of focus and meditation goes into every single lift. Like every time you approach the bar, what's going through your head, and the fact that you're not always necessarily like hyping yourself up where you're like really like, I don't know, extroverted and like flinging and yelling and all of this. Like it's quite a step by step meditative process. At
Yeah.
least like that's how I approach my lifts and my training, especially like working towards like PRs and stuff. So it's really nice as well for a male athlete to say that,
Yeah.
because I feel like it's more expected for female athletes to say that as opposed to males. So yeah.
I mean, so I usually spend half my time reading research, like training research, because you have to stay on top of like everything. So I've never been a person that like believes in get your certs. That's what's gonna like push you to the next level. It's more understand the science and art behind it because it's a balance of both. So the reason I don't hype myself up personally is personally I'm not a person that likes yelling or
No, you're very
yeah,
grounded.
I'm very chill. So on top of that, like every PR I've hit is like to lo-fi or some like very chill, normal music. And
What do you mean you don't listen to heavy metal?
sometimes, but it's like rare.
Yeah.
I mean, I did yesterday,
Yeah,
but
fair.
yeah. Um, but there is research that says hyping yourself up consistently, especially for major lifts where it's supposed to be a one rep max, it can hinder your recovery process because you'll
Oh,
go
your recovery process.
yeah, so
Okay.
you'll go through adrenal fatigue
Okay.
because you're hyping yourself up, getting your endorphins, getting adrenaline going. So your adrenal glands usually secrete all these hormones, and then you have to lift a very heavy weight. So testosterone production goes up, but then like your recovery process gets extended. Hence why you see like powerlifting programs are very like drawn out throughout the week. So you'll see like, oh, they only squat like once or twice a week, or they'll do squat, bench, deadlift, and then that's it. But then their sessions are like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're always like trying to amp themselves, and I'm the complete opposite. Even when I was playing basketball, I've always been like, I don't talk too much, I don't smile or celebrate. I'm just like,
Just getting on with it.
yeah, casual.
Yeah, yeah. I guess as well with if you overuse something to stimulate you, you're just gonna, I can't remember the exact word for it, but you're just gonna get used to it, and then it's not gonna have a strong effect anymore.
Yeah.
Like occasionally, whenever I go for a lift, if it's one that my voice is going, if it's one that I know is mentally challenging for me in terms of like the weight, there might be some other little ritual I might use, but it's something that's very few and far between because I don't want to overuse it and then that to like cease the power. One of the best things though, like training with people, like for the other day when me and Finn were at the gym and I was going for the heavy snatch, it was really nice to have like other people there kind of hyping me up when I didn't necessarily need to create it for myself. Like to have external sources do it for me was really interesting to be a part of, and to be like, yeah, okay, they believe in me. I don't necessarily believe in myself, but let's go.
Um,
So yeah.
it's weird because like I would go to Squats and Science, which is my home gym now, and they're always like hyping each other up. But like for me, like I've hit a few PRs there, um, and yeah, they're like super antsy, amped up, and yelling the whole time. But like once I stepped onto under the bar, and walk it out for a squat, for example, like I don't hear anything. Like people will be yelling and it's just like
White noise.
utter silence. Like I've always been like that. Like I've played in like massive crowds and stuff and they don't exist. So I've always like had my I guess like my own created space that I can
Okay.
walk into and then just I don't know.
That's really
Yeah.
fascinating.
So it's funny because I can't meditate to save my life, but then when I'm in the gym, like I don't think I'm in there, and then it's just like me in this absolute bubble, and no one exists.
Well, your meditation is your movement practice then, right? And
Exactly.
it's different for
Yeah.
everyone.
But I can't just sit still and be like, you know,
Yeah.
breathe in for 10 minutes. I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah. So, how long have you been doing Ollie lifting?
8 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And like all self-taught.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mhm.
That's super dope. And do you feel like it's something you'd like to compete in?
My friends really want me to. They're like, you are freakishly strong. You need to do this. And I'm like, I don't need to do anything. But I'll give it a shot. I think, it'd be cool to just try out. Um, it's very fun. It's a very unique community. It's very small, especially in New York. Um, well, just in general in the US, there's not a lot of Olympic lifters.
Really?
Yeah, so like even when I go to the gym, it's just me and one other guy. And when we're there, shout outs to Taylor, he's like freakishly strong. Um, we just work out and
Okay.
then it's usually us like being quiet in our own bubbles, but we'll watch each other lift and be like, good job, that was nice. Or we give ourselves like little cues and stuff, which is really cool, you know. And that's one thing that being in the lifting community that I notice is that there's no gatekeeping, I guess, at least from what I've experienced. There's no gatekeeping in the sense that, you know, if something's wrong positionally, I can tell you and I'll be like, hey, like, I saw this. I think you don't
Yeah.
have to,
Yeah.
but I feel like you'll hit the lift better if this
Yeah.
happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happens across the board, especially in gyms like the one I go to, where everyone's like a high level performance athlete or high level coach. We all see everything.
Yeah.
So you can't always see yourself, even if you're on camera, because you're
Yeah.
going to have a bias towards
Yeah.
whatever you're looking at because it's you.
Yeah.
And having someone else objectively say, hey, like, you had a slight excess on your right hip where you shifted. I think you should square yourself a little more by engaging your lats, you know, and then you hit the next lift and you're like, damn. So now it's something that you're aware of. And
Yeah.
it's a very cool thing that I feel like every community should implement altogether.
Yeah. I think what I really appreciated yesterday, because even at the gym that I train at, again, there's few and far between individuals who do Ollie lifting. It's predominantly powerlifting. And I wonder if it's because the skill set involved in Ollie lifting, it just takes longer. And perhaps people don't have the time or the patience to work towards it. I wonder if that's one of the factors. It's something harder to pick up than squat, bench, or deadlift.
I think so, but at the same time, I think
Do you feel like it's a little bit more inaccessible?
no, I don't think it's inaccessible. I think it's a popularity thing. Like it's not as marketable. Well, it hasn't been marketed properly because like,
Okay.
when you look at powerlifting, well, this is my inner marketer speaking. So when you look at powerlifting, it has like major brands.
True.
It has like ambassadors that are like, very high level. And then it also has connections to bodybuilding to where some of the best bodybuilders in the world. You can take like Ronnie Coleman. He was freakishly strong. He had like an 800 pound, which is 350 kilo deadlift, close to it.
Shit. Okay.
Yeah. And he was there just cranking it out and
Yeah.
training like a power lifter.
So you think it's more transferable as a skill, like to come from like bodybuilding?
Uh, well, you need those three lifts
Mm.
as a foundation
Yeah.
because even when you do Olympic lifting, like
Yeah.
your clean pull is essentially a
Deadlift.
modified deadlift,
Yeah.
and then obviously you need the squat.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like, you know, some countries it's state sponsored,
Right.
so they want you to be in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll like have a farm system where they pick out the best lifters. I'm speaking on behalf of the US. We don't have that.
Okay.
Everything is very like capitalist, you know, you figure it out on your own.
Okay.
And in that sense, it's difficult for Olympic lifting coaches to find people interested in that sport because the major sports in America are baseball, basketball, football.
Okay.
So all the money, especially in collegiate sports, goes into that.
Mm-hmm.
Versus Olympic lifting, it's like, would you like to try it out? And people are like, no, because it's very technically demanding.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
one wants to sit with a PVC pipe for
Yeah.
a month trying to figure out how to get their overhead position.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, I wonder if people are more interested in powerlifting and bodybuilding because it requires less technical demand, and you can and I'm not shitting on powerlifting. I'm not like saying
Yeah,
that, but like people don't have as much time to sit and learn ollie lifting compared to like powerlifting, especially in the like current climate where everything is so fast paced and everything almost wants like an immediate reward. I'm quite privileged in the sense that I do have the time to give to ollie lifting, and it's taken me like almost 2 years to kind of get to this stage. Whereas a lot of people like who aren't coaches don't have that time. They just kind of want to get in, get their workout done, and go, you know?
I
So I
feel
wonder if that's part of it.
I think so, but I feel like it's more so the difficulty. It's not as appealing, and it's, you know, it's very technically demanding in the sense that like, you know, I am shitting on powerlifting. Uh, you only have to hit depth and like a certain 90-degree, like so in IPF, I think it's hip below knee, the knee crease, and that's it.
Yeah.
So like,
To parallel, right?
yeah,
Yeah. So like powerlifting is here
yeah,
and
and
ollie
then
lifting would be
like all the way,
ass to grass.
yeah, you know, like you gotta mow the lawn, you know. Uh,
Damn, those are some strong ass butt cheeks.
yeah. So like, yeah. So, I mean, it's very demanding, especially since with powerlifting, your numbers progress really fast, especially if the programming is perfect, because some of the ranges of motion are cut shorter,
Yeah,
you
it's
know. So
particularly with like bench press.
bench,
But there's rules that have changed now with it.
yeah, but you can still like finesse the bench press, you know, like back when powerlifting started, it was just like standard neutral grip. You go all the way down, touch your chest, come up. Now it's like wide grip, and you arch your back a certain way, and you unload, and then use the hips to push to help you push up. And it's like, is that really a bench press? You know? And I guess for me personally, because I have some friends that would like for me to do powerlifting, because I do have numbers that would be very competitive. I don't see the I guess the benefit for me personally
Okay.
to do powerlifting. It's very I don't want to say boring, but it's like
Static.
yeah, it's stagnant, you know, it's like squat, bench, deadlift, accessories. And then you have to wait 3 days or 2 days depending on your program to squat, bench, deadlift, or whatever it is. For me, since I do my own programming, I can squat 4 times a week if I want
Yeah.
to. I can clean pull every other day. I can do cleans. I can do snatch off blocks, jerks.
You're hitting, it's more diverse because, especially for you coming from a basketball background, you're actually getting like plyometric strength as well and still keeping everything ticking over in that regard.
Right. And in that sense, it also forces you to work on your weaknesses because with powerlifting, at least from what I've seen with some of the clients I've coached, they tend to have certain asymmetries that they compensate for in their lifts. So you'll see someone, if they don't have the requisite ankle mobility, they'll just hinge further back and their squat's a good morning. So they'll have the world's strongest lower back, but like when the lift starts to get heavy, you know, your lower back can only carry so much weight.
Yeah.
So your leg strength is lacking. But it's not due to you not squatting enough weight, it's just you're not moving properly. And you also have very weird deadlift techniques where like you have sumo, which is great, but some people have like this hybrid pull where it's like a mix between conventional and sumo, and their numbers suffer because they're at a positional disadvantage because they're not either, if they want to do sumo, they're not scooping under, or their hips are just not, well, their femurs in relation to their hips are not square, which would be conventional. You want everything to be stacked and lined up so you can have enough force production. But there's like many ways to hide your weaknesses in powerlifting, and in Olympic lifting there isn't. Like you will miss the lift 99% of the time. If let's say your strict press is very weak, you're just not getting that bar off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Unless you have freakishly strong legs where it can push the weight up for you and then you can just push yourself under. In terms of your mobility, if your mobility sucks, you're not going to catch a clean or you're not going to be able to get a snatch in a low enough position. And yeah, it's just very interesting because your technique varies from day to day, especially when you're a beginner and even still intermediate. Like you have to, because you're greasing a specific groove and you have to find what works best for you. Like obviously there's universal cues, but not everyone has freakishly long arms or, you know, or is 6'5" and they have to, you know, so each person has their own specific mechanics that they have to figure out.
Yeah.
And that's what's beautiful about Olympic lifting, because it's difficult, it's very technically demanding, and I won't get bored.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's so true. Every session you learn something completely different. And to kind of regress and go back to how we started talking about this, when you were saying at the gym, there's usually you and Taylor, right? And you guys are probably watching each other and there's no gatekeeping in the sport. What I really appreciated when we trained together the other day, you gave me cues for my jerk position. And usually, because I work with my online coach, I will get feedback whenever we chat, like the following week. But I never tend to get like immediate feedback from someone like right there and then watching my lift. And again, I can watch it back on video, but I'm not gonna know and notice everything.
Yeah.
So when you told me like my jerk position, I was extending too much into my chest. I then took it into the next one. I was like, oh damn! It was really nice to have someone else's eye there, and not feel like my ego was being attacked from it.
Yeah.
And it's nice to have that in a movement, because in a lot of other movement practices, at least from what I've seen in the yoga world, it can be very much like, you're not doing that correctly. Your warrior two is looking a bit different to mine.
Warrior two.
Or like your downward dog, it doesn't look like the perfect shape like it's meant to be. Or even I've had it sometimes when I'm climbing, people are like, oh, the beta, you haven't done it like that. I'm like, yeah, because I'm a small human.
Yeah.
I have shorter limbs than someone who's 6'5", so of course it's going to look different. The beta's going to be completely different.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like within Olympic lifting, at least what I've come across, there is more of a conceptual understanding that everyone's lift is going to look different, and it doesn't matter. Like there's technical points to hit, but there's more leeway for like individual expression within it.
Yeah, I feel like that's the weird thing. Just about humans in general. We tend to Well, it's just herd mentality. We tend to want to be as similar to the norm as possible, but like this is a sport where like there is no norm. Like there is a norm in the sense that of like technical checkpoints. But in your case, for example, with your it was a slight arch in your thoracic. So what that does is you can't stack the weight overhead. So you're clearly strong enough to jerk the weight, but then once the weight gets heavier, if you start relying, that's a lot of pressure on your mid back, lower back, and you'll miss the jerk.
Yeah.
So if you're in that like reverse C shape, like it's just an energy leak. So when I said that, I was like, hey, I feel like what most people don't understand, which is the benefit of being a coach for 10 years now. So language is important, and how you communicate a correction is extremely important. I had that drilled into me for years at Equinox. And the biggest thing is how you say certain things, because at the end of the day, it is the other person's ego that you're talking to. You don't know if that person has a very volatile ego or something that, or if, they're just not receptive to feedback. In your case, you were very receptive. I tried my best to.
Which is interesting because historically, I really struggle and dislike
My
men
apologies.
tell me what to do. No, it's a thing that stems from my childhood.
I identify as gender neutral.
No, but it was interesting for me to observe how reciprocal I was to your feedback and to your advice. Whereas traditionally in the past, when I've been told what to do by men, it's been very condescending. But again, like I, you come from a very empathetic background, especially with the language that you used when you told me what was going on. So I was like, sweet, I'm gonna take your advice.
Yeah, I mean you smashed the next jerk with the opposing leg, which is pretty impressive. And then the cool thing about training with you was that you adapt very quickly, which is it was kind of like watching myself train in a sense, where if you're not having a good day with a certain lift or it seems a bit difficult, you're able to like step back, watch the footage, adjust for the very next set, and then the correction happens immediately. For some people, they get caught in a loop where you can give them like one simple cue and it just doesn't register. So you having the capacity to step back is very good, because I wasn't like that ever. It took me a while and 2 injuries to figure out like, hey, you need to learn when to call it for the day.
Yeah.
So having that skill to understand that, I feel like is vital, especially as a coach, because your client base usually doesn't know. So communicating, for example, if I'm training a client and she hasn't been there for a week because of work or whatever, and she comes to me and she says, well, this lift doesn't look good. I'm like, yeah, I can see that. Let's do a regression, or let's modify it to where it's easier, lighten the load or lighten the repetitions. And yeah, it's very interesting. Like I've seen coaches like, oh, you're doing that wrong, or when I played basketball, why do you shoot like that?
Right.
Not to me,
Okay.
but like to others. And it's like there is no textbook way, but we always try to conform to what looks the best. So like this is a sport where like, yeah, it involves an aesthetic, like you have to be an aesthetically pleasing lifter, or with climbing, I'm sure that it has the same concept, but at the end of the day, with strength sports, it's about strength.
Yeah.
And expressing that strength through what God gave you, which is your frame, your musculature, your stature, your limb lengths, your joint articulation. And you can only do that your way. And it's cool to see that each lifter's slightly different, because you can learn stuff from them at the same time. Like, how are you able to, you have like really good mobility for your front squat. I'm like, everything is fingertips for me, and I'm like, I can't do that. And but it also has its own detriments. So like, for example, I don't have the greatest mobility for my rack position, but my back strength is very strong. So if I catch a clean and it crashes, like it's not gonna like crumble me. Meanwhile, I know some people, they can catch, they are very fluid, but they don't have the stability. So if the bar crashes, they miss the lift, or they'll like stumble, hip shift, and then they have to like grind out the squat from the bottom position. So it's very unique to see how like each person is completely different in how their approach to lifting or anything in life is.
Yeah, I guess like it's quite interesting as well as a coach being able to work with someone and almost like unpack the puzzle piece that their body is when it comes to lifting. And you must have had such like vast experience over the past like 10 years as a coach with that.
Yeah, so I deal with still sometimes with sports performance and mechanical movement. So how you hinge, how you move in relation to space, how much space do you cover? These are things that are very important, because it's just how you are as a human being. You can have broad shoulders, you'll need a wider stance. You can have narrow hips, you'll need a narrower stance. Or you can be quad dominant, sumo works better for you. Those kind of things. And then moving through space is obviously the athletic sphere. How do you run? How do you jump? How do you land? Your proprioceptive qualities within space, those things are very important. And I feel like, again, not harping on powerlifting, but it's a very linear sport. It's very up and down. So like, there's no rotational movement. There's no, side to side or anything. Even with Olympic lifting, for the most part, like the most you do side to side is if you're saving a lift, then you're rotating. Or if when you're doing heavy cleans, the split position for the catch, but that's more, it's still within the same confines. Like being a basketball player, I needed rotational strength. I had to jump high. I had to run fast. I had to be laterally quick. My reaction time had to be very quick. My processing power had to be very quick, because you have to like process information very fast. So that's the thing with like higher level, I guess, athletics. So like, if you can't process information very fast, you're gonna miss windows for plays that need to get made. And that's something that comes with experience and time, but you can circumvent that through coaching, which is really cool, because I've been able to help a ton of people, process better. Or when I was doing basketball coaching, they were like, I would have never seen that if you didn't tell me. Well, you weren't looking. It's just like you were so busy. Like, everyone has like a default setting that they refer to, and it's like, my life's goal has been to remove myself from a default setting. Because when you start depending on a default setting, you become reliant, and then deficiencies start to happen, or you miss certain things. So translating that to lifting, if let's say I'm not catching my cleans properly, I would regress, go back, work my way back up. But I would go clean pull, clean, hang clean. And then I would just work my way up, and everyone's like, are you not tired? I'm like, no. Like, I have to drill the tech and make sure that everything is smooth. So it's pretty cool to see. It's just, I don't know. Movement is amazing. I think it's a very unique space to be in.
Yeah.
It's very welcoming
Yeah.
for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, you do get your typical, you should be doing 5x5, and you know, I'm like,
Sweet, sure.
outlift me first, and then I'll listen to you. But yeah,
So how does your cycling tie into this Central Park Racoons?
uh, it doesn't. It's just a fad.
It's
Uh,
just a fact.
it's just something I wanted to try initially,
Okay.
like straight out of basketball, which was funny because I got injured, dislocated my shoulder riding my bike,
Oh wow.
and
Okay.
somehow I ended up racing bikes.
So this is your racing bike team.
This is me and my friend Chris. We co-founded this team, and it has been a very long and interesting ride, but very fun.
Good pun.
Yeah, it's been very fun. It's been very unique. Um, so essentially, he does all the design work. So he creates the kits, the merchandise. You know, I would turn around, but that's rude. But um, he does all that stuff, and then I do all the hosting and all the marketing and connection stuff, which is really cool because we've been on the New York Times, we've been at Bicycle Film Festival, we've had documentaries on us, and it's like our second year.
Oh no way.
Yeah,
Very cool.
and I'm like, I'm just never not on camera, obviously. Yeah, so it's a very fun experience.
And what kind of like events do you do?
Track racing
Oh, okay.
specifically, yeah.
Okay.
So we're in velodromes, or we do like fixed gear crits. So we would race in the streets kind of
Okay.
thing,
Sick.
but it would be a closed course. Yeah,
Sick.
I
Nice.
just do the velodrome. Yeah.
That's so cool. And do you feel like it fuels a different part of your athleticism compared to your ollie lifting?
So,
No.
yeah, it's the same thing. I'm a sprinter, so
Okay.
it's just explosiveness. So the weight room transfers very well. Hence why I've broken so many bike parts and the bike. And yeah,
It's too strong.
.com. Yeah, so it's a very, I guess for me, it's a very expensive sport
Sure.
because I've maintenance and then consistently getting your bike checked to make sure everything's good. I tend to break parts very easily, which is not common, but I just have that bug. So it's very expensive. And I took the year off of racing this year,
Okay.
and because I was dealing with like nagging hip injury, and I decided to just take some time off, and I'm Olympic lifting. Yeah.
Fair enough. Super interesting. I wanted to ask you a little bit more about earlier you said how you have quite a holistic approach to movement and training, not only for yourself but as a coach. So what does like being holistic mean to you?
Get all the hard questions. All right, so being holistic in the sense of training is there has to be a balance within the session of complete movement, proper breathing, proper positioning, the mindset behind every single attempt you do. You know, for the general population, it's a little more difficult to do that because a lot of them aren't into the performance sphere,
Okay.
but it's still applicable. You know, some of them come from work and like they're stressed out and they're like, yeah, I'm fat, or like my back hurts because I'm sitting in a chair all day. And they come to me and they're like, hey, like I want to get in shape. And it's like, okay, well, I got to teach you how to move properly first. And they're like, I would always get this question, why are we doing this? Well, if you learn how to move better, you're going to get stronger faster. If you get stronger faster, your body adapts quicker. If your body adapts quicker, you get in shape faster. So most people do the opposite. They just hit the treadmill,
Okay.
a bunch of machines and then go home.
Mm-hmm.
Versus like with me, you have to do a full movement warm up. Then after that, we go through the session. I always track my clients' breathing patterns, see how they're doing. I time their rest periods, and then we'll do full body because no one, like, I feel like for me personally, it's the best way to train
Mm-hmm.
because you're not going to sit there. Like, when are you really bench pressing in real life? You know, like when you push a shopping cart or like
Yeah.
if you're under a car, when are you under a car? You know, like those kinds of things. So, you know, you hinge every morning, like when you reach and tie your shoes, or, you know, you extend overhead when you're trying to grab something from a shelf, you know. So these things, they all have to transition from not just looking good and being in great shape,
Mm-hmm.
but to you not, to you being less likely to get injured. And at the same time, we're getting older. Like, you want to be able to have function
Mm-hmm.
as you age.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's what I feel like holistic is to me. I feel like it has to incorporate all spheres of your life. You know,
Sweet.
you just don't want to be like a meathead. You know,
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
powerlifting.
Please, no one come for me.
Y'all could come for me.
Okay, so thank you for sharing. This is a part of the podcast where I just like to ask you 3 random questions that kind of come into my head.
Yeah.
So the first one I want to ask you is, if you had to lose either your sight or your hearing, what would you lose and why? Like right now, so you've already had X amount of years of sight and hearing.
My hearing.
Your hearing,
Yeah.
why?
So people like hating, so I don't want to hear it. No, and I mean, life is beautiful. Life is something that, like, I appreciate art and aesthetic very much. Yeah, I'm gonna miss out on music, which sucks, but you know, you have nature, you have people to look at, you have other things, and the forms of communication with sight are a little bit easier than it is with hearing,
Yeah.
you know, because I can write,
Mm-hmm.
I can text, I can see things,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Same.
Yeah.
Okay. Second question. If there was one international law that you would choose to apply to the whole world, what would it be?
Oh my God. International law. Don't litter.
Yeah.
And it's just like, please. Come on. You know, you live here.
It's
Like,
really not that
like,
hard.
what if I walked into your house and just started throwing trash on the floor? I don't think you'd be happy about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just
Yeah. Fair.
don't do it. Don't litter.
Okay, and final question. If you had to be a number, what would you be and why?
A number.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is a great question.
What was your basketball number actually?
Anything that added up to the numbers 5 or 9, because those are my lucky numbers.
So 5 and 9 are your lucky numbers.
Yeah, I have tattoos of them.
Yeah, so which one was on your basketball jersey?
Uh,
Was it either?
it was either 10,
Uh-huh.
because it had an aspect of 5 in it,
Okay, yeah.
or 14.
Okay.
Yeah, for some reason 9 was always unavailable for me. So
So what number would you be?
9.
You'd be 9. Why 9?
Um, in numerology,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It symbolizes like holisticness and change and a bunch of, it's just a very like deep number. It's a very transformative number, and I feel like that's been my whole life. It's a 9. Yeah.
Okay.
And
Come
plus
full
it looks
circle.
cool. Yeah.
Come full circle.
Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Well, thank you for coming on my podcast, all the way from New York City.
Hell yeah.
Big up. If people wanted to follow you, have your page over here. Da-na-na-na.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Yeah.
In the air. Thank you, Alex.
We miss you, Alex.
Do you have any final like statements that you want to share or anything?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah.
For people in the training sphere or just in general, remember to have fun. You know, burnout isn't cool. It's not an aspect of life that like
Should be like strive towards.
not necessarily strive towards. I would say more so like accomplished because yeah. So have fun with what you do. At the end of the day, we're gonna die. Like it's like,
Yeah.
you know, everything is just subjective to who you are as a person. And yeah, have fun. You know, like things can be easily given or taken away from you, you know. I've been fortunate enough to meet people that have been professionals. I have met people that have lost their professional careers to either burnout or injury.
Okay.
And to them, because it was so much of it, so much of their life and their ego, losing that was very impactful for them. So learn to have fun, learn to do other things, because at the end of the day, it's a singular experience that's linear. Life is linear in the sense that time just always moves forward, and you need to experience the totality as best you can instead of just like, I need to squat 500 pounds or I need to be a professional athlete. It's like, yeah, you can do that, but don't do what I did and sacrifice social life and all this other stuff. Because, yeah, even though I made it to where I wanted to be, it was in the losing so much, and now I have to play catch up.
Okay.
I'm 28. You know, that shouldn't be the case. So have fun.
Well, cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Stevie. Sundays with Stevie kicked
Yeah.
off. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps my channel grow, and it means that I can continuously produce more content. But yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Sayonara.